Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a Honda EU2000I inverter generator. This machine here has been sitting for a while. It only runs on choke. As soon as I take the choke off, the machine dies. It will keep running on the choke though, but that's not a good thing to do. You can easily foul your spark plug doing that. Now the machine has good spark, by the way, so I checked that. If it didn't, it wouldn't even start. What I want to show you today is how to clean the carburetor on one of these machines and hopefully avoiding a trip to the shop or having to buy a new carburetor for this machine. The carburetors for these machines are incredibly expensive from Honda here in Canada. So if you want to get it cleaned, it's a way better option for you if you can. Last price I got from a dealer here was about $400 for the OEM Honda carburetor. Hopefully I can avoid that today. I'll get right into the video. So first of all, take off this panel here. Now the carburetor is right here. I will take off the two 8mm nuts here. Get the air filter off. Pull this part out. There's another bolt here with an 8mm head. Now this whole part here will come out. That's the air filter assembly. So what I'll do here is disconnect the hose. It'll just make it easier to have it out of my way. Now I'm going to disconnect the fuel line over here. Pull the carburetor out. Now what I'm able to often do is just clean the carburetor without disconnecting everything from the machine. Now what I'll do is grab a 10mm nut driver and get the bowl off. Now I can see that it is a little green in there, just a bit. Don't know if you can see that on the camera. And even the bottom of the bolt here sometimes can be a telltale sign of what's inside the carburetor. So it's a little discolored. I'll clean that off with a wire brush. Now the main part that is plugged in this carburetor is the jet that is screwed right inside the emulsion tube here. So I'm just going to reach down here and it will unscrew from the carburetor. And before I take that out, I will remove the float and the needle valve just by pulling out the pin here. Get it out of there. So the entire carburetor overall, it's not that bad. This is a savable carburetor. I have mentioned in previous videos where I will replace a carburetor if it's questionable, but this one is pretty good. There, the jet fell out. It's right on the rag there. Now if the jet is stuck in there, I just tap the carburetor like this and oftentimes it'll just pop out. So this is the main jet, and this is always the one that's plugged. You cannot see through this one. And the way I clean these jets when they're not too bad like this is with a torch tip cleaner. It's got all kinds of different sizes of tip cleaners here. So I usually start with the smallest one. And I just go back and forth. And then what I do is I go with a bigger tip, and if it won't fit, I back off. So I go with the biggest tip that will fit in there without enlarging the hole too much. You don't want to go crazy. If you enlarge the hole too much, you will have a machine that will run too rich and it will not run properly. So let's have a look here. So I can see it's a lot more opened up now. And while I'm at it, I sometimes enlarge the hole just a bit, just to make the machine run a bit better. And I'll just spray it with card cleaner. Now whatever you do, don't get card cleaner on the bowl O-ring here because it might swell up and you'll have to replace it. And I'm going to run a blast of air through the jet as well. Now let's look through the jet again here. Yeah, it's a lot more opened up now. Now, if the jet was really dirty and really corroded, what I would do is spray some mercury power tune in a small container and let the jet soak in there for about half a day to a day, just to totally clean it. Now, if you look closely at the threads on the jet, they do look like they do have some dirt on there. So what I will do is grab my Vam pliers. See how they're shaped at the end? It fits perfectly on the round part of the jet here. Now, if you're going to do what I'm doing next, make sure to have safety glasses on and hold on to that jet with dear life because you don't want to lose it. And I'll just run it on my wire brush just slightly to just clean it off. Now, another tip here, if the carburetor was a lot more dirty than this, I would actually remove the O-ring right here. You can carefully remove it using a small pick, just by going like that and popping it out. And then what I would do is soak the carburetor with mercury power tune, let it soak for a while, or I would take the entire carburetor off the machine and put it in my ultrasonic cleaner. This carb's not so bad, it was just the middle jet here that was the problem, so I will put it back in. And then have a good look at the needle valve here, make sure there's no dirt on the needle valve. If you get dirt on the tip of the needle valve and the seat, what happens is it will not seal properly, and you will have gas running through the carburetor right into your engine, and it will flood the crankcase. So now I'll put this back on. And now I'll just put the pin right through here. Now, to clean the bowl, I will spray some mercury power tune inside. I might be able to just wipe everything up right away here. And again, if the bowl was really bad, I would let it soak overnight with the power tune. Now, to clear the small amounts of rust down there, I've got a small wire brush at the end of my drill. And I'll spray it with some card cleaner. And if there's any rust on this part of the bowl, clean that as well. If the bowl is too rusted out, just install a new bowl. Because rust is somewhat like cancer, you can scrape it away, wire brush it away, but it might come back. Alright, so I'm just about ready to put the bowl back on the car, but I just noticed something here that I want to show you how to quickly fix on the bowl. If you look at the bowl here where the bowl nut goes, it's a bit concave, it's kind of sunk in, and that sometimes can prevent the bowl from making a proper seal on the carburetor. So what I do in that case is I put the bowl on a flat surface. A small anvil is perfect. And then what I do is I grab a roll pin punch and I just tap it until it flattens the bottom of the bowl even with the rest of it. So it's that simple. It just brings it back flush so that there's more pressure on the bowl when you put the bowl nut. All right, so I will put the bowl back on. I believe it was positioned like this. Now, before I tighten up the bowl nut, I will just put it on here to double check where it's lining up to. So right here in this position will be good. And always make sure that the small screw at the bottom of the bowl here is tight. I'm just going to trim this line because it's a bit damaged. Just a quick tip while I'm thinking about it, guys, when you put away your Honda generator, because you cannot run it dry because the fuel valve is the on-off switch, what you do once the machine is off is you can take the panel off and unscrew this screw here, and it will drain the carburetor. So if you drain the carburetor, it gives you a better chance when you go to use it again that it's not plugged like this. Now I'm going to get the fuel line back on. Small gasket. And don't forget to hook up this breather hose here. It goes right here on the air filter assembly. Sometimes that happens. And put these nuts fairly tight and put them on evenly. And don't forget this small filter that will go inside here. All right, so I'm going to start it up here. Hopefully it all worked. It'll take a few pulls because the carburetor is completely empty and I've got fresh gas in there. Alright, so it still has an issue on the echo mode when it's on. That's because there's still something going on in that carb. I know exactly what it is. I'll take it back in the shop, take it apart again, and show you what you need to do. Alright, so I normally don't have to do this a second time around. Usually just cleaning the small jet that I showed you does the trick, but there's something else going on and I'll show you that right away here. I do have to take the carburetor off again to do this. Very rare that I have to do this a second time around on these. So I'm actually going to leave the carburetor just like that. So what I'm going to do here is reach in and remove the plastic screw here. And you can count the turns out if you want, just so that you put it exactly in the same position. So I've got about 5 turns out here, or 6. There it is. And now what I do is I reach in and I grab that air jet, which I've shown you on other videos in the past. And what I do is I pop it out like that. And now I just reach in and grab it. And here it is. And now with my micro drill bit, about 13 thousandths of an inch or so, doesn't matter if you're bit above or below. I'm going to go in and re-drill the hole here. So you can see the bit's gone right through. Clear any debris from there. So what happens over time with these plastic parts is they shrink, the hole shrinks, the plastic warps a bit, and then the small hole there is plugged. And I'm going to reach in and put it back in. And what you want to make sure is that it's pushed all the way down flush with the carburetor. Have a look here. Now to get this screw back in, just put it on your screwdriver. It's going to stay on there so you don't lose it. And there's the hole in there. So with the screw on your screwdriver, just reach in and get it started. So I have to count my turns here. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now I will just put the carburetor back on the exact same way I did earlier. And then I will come back and we'll start it up again. So I will start it with echo throttle off, and then I will turn it on once it's warmed up. All right, let's start her up here. Chokes on. Now it's running smooth. That's great. That's the way I want it to run. No, that's perfect. It was a bit weird when I started it at first here, was like rah, 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 up and down, but then it cleared itself. The echo mode works really well now. The engine is not chugging or running lean. And it was all because of that jet right there. So if you clean this one and you still have an issue, go back and enlarge it. Those little drill bits that I used here, you can get these on Amazon. Just go on Amazon and type in micro drill bit set and they'll come up. They work better than paper clips and stuff like that. There's less chance of the bit breaking inside your jet. All right, so that's it for the video. As you can see, it does make a difference if you clean that little air jet. Another tip I want to give you guys is when you clean a carburetor on a generator, always test it out with some equipment, some electrical equipment. And the reason for that is if your carburetor's not quite cleaned right, when you put a load on it, the generator might stall or become very sluggish. You don't want that. So if your carburetor is well cleaned, you test it out with the equipment, there'll be no issues at all. Then you know everything is good. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you in my next video. Have a great day.